that this would be very participatory. So if those of you would be so kind as to put cameras on, and unless it's really inconvenient, I'm hoping this is just kind of going to be an intimate group. I do not have a slideshow. I was starting to put something together and have it be, you know, this fancy PowerPoint. And I thought, you know, this just is not going to fit for what I want to do today. I do have PowerPoints on mental health. I'm in the mental health field. I actually have worked with Department of Health, Adult Mental Health Division for about 20 years here in Hawaii, and worked for mental health many more years before I got here to Hawaii. So it is my profession, but my passion in mental health comes from a number of different outlets. And my guess is you have an interest in mental health for different reasons. So what I thought I would do is have us talk a little bit about why we're here. And then the angle I wanted to take is that basically we each have an interest in mental health, and we each have kind of a role. And then at our club level, what could that role be? And then actually our district, I'm happy to say you're the first that's hearing this. I haven't even, this is probably not very good protocol because I haven't even informed our district governor, Randy, but I just got an email that our district chapter has been approved. I put it forward that we wanted to have a chapter. We have an initial board of directors, and it was approved. So that was announced actually today at the International Rotary Action Group. So that's pretty exciting. So what does that mean for our district on a statewide level? And then of course there's Rotary International. So kind of at the me level, individuals, club, district, and Rotary International. So I have something on each of those levels, and we're going to do that in less than an hour. So you ready? So that's what I have planned. And May is Mental Health Month, which is next month. So the timing couldn't be perfect. And then we're also gearing up for our district conference, which I do want to have a House of Friendship booth there. And I'm hoping that if you're there, you'll come over and you'll help me out there so we can actually give more awareness to mental health. So, but before all that, what I'd like to do is just have each one of us introduce ourselves and maybe why you chose mental health. You had so many choices today, really great speakers. And if you were at the last person that talked about mediation on this track, she was excellent. And she tied in a lot of mental health principles about communication, about people, you know, mediating, talking more effectively with each other, lots of things about, you know, nonverbal language. I mean, it really ties into what I think has to do with good mental health. She was really good. So you had a lot of choices, and you're here. And I was wondering if you wouldn't mind disclosing why you are thinking that mental health is a good thing to focus on. So I started, Kathleen Merriam, and I am with Rotary Club of Kaneohe. That would be nice if you would share what club. I mentioned I'm in the field, but probably personally I will share that I have bipolar illness, and I also lost my brother to suicide. So I have a lot of personal passion that is driving me to get involved. So I feel like this is the time that mental health and Rotary is coming together. So that's me. And I'm gonna, have you done this before where you kind of popcorn it over? If you wouldn't mind, if that's comfortable with you, I'm going to popcorn it over to, how about Arlene? Good morning.
Morning. Hi. So I'm Arlene with the Rotary Club of Kapolei, and what interests me about mental health. So I'm actually a massage therapist, and it's amazing how much mental health has an effect on the body and how much emotions are stored in the muscles. You know, and it's interesting how my practice is evolving, and you know, my own personal growth. But it's amazing how people don't realize how much emotion is stored in their and in their body, and it's nice how you could tie the two and educate people on that. So always willing to learn more stuff.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Arlene. Who would you like to pass it to?
Let me pass it to Conrad.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Arlene. I'm Conrad DK with the Rotary Club of Ala Moana, and also in the District 5000 leadership as the current assistant governor for the Oahu Waikiki area. And my interest in this area has to do with the fact that I too, like Kathleen, have some mental health challenges. Mine is around anxieties, and for the longest time, I used to be very embarrassed about the fact that, this is something that I'm having to deal with and whatnot. But I think, through the pandemic, we've learned that there have been a lot of people who have been dealing with mental health issues and stuff like that, whether it be everything from anxieties to depression and everything in between. And I also know that it's just such a large bucket. You've got everything from teenagers who have to deal with bullyism, all the way up to the seniors who deal with loneliness and whatnot. And so hopefully we can make a difference in this area.
Thank you, Conrad. And who would you like to?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and punt it over to Dick May.
Thank you.
Let me first unmute myself. Well, I guess as I think about the issues we all deal with, it seems to me that in our society for many years, we've been concerned about physical health. And we talk about a broken health care system in many respects. But I think we also need to understand that it's equally a problem, perhaps a greater problem, if mental health issues are not recognized and not dealt with well. And I have to say this, maybe I'm a Pollyanna, but I feel like I'm well-adjusted and a happy guy. Life hasn't always been perfect, but it's been very, very good to me, and I feel very blessed. But I have seen problems many times, and having been in a military career for many years in the military, if people had a mental health issue, they tried to hide it because they viewed that it might cause shame or lack of career advancement. And I suspect that the same has been true to a degree in two civilian for-profit companies that I work for. I'll give you two examples that illustrate that. Years ago, when I was a lieutenant in the Air Force, a fellow lieutenant and I, who lived in adjacent rooms in the BOQ, were given added leadership responsibilities to step into a larger role. I kind of welcomed that role. I thought this is going to be kind of neat. My colleague was worried about it. He was very capable. He wasn't sure he was capable. And he expressed to me his concerns about whether he could handle the job. And I said, I'm sure you can, but let's talk about it. And he said, I'm really worried about this. And I said, well, there are folks you can talk to, but I said, you can surely talk to me. Let's get together after work and have a beer and let's talk about what we can do working together. And he said, okay, that's a deal. Well, he didn't show up. And the reason he didn't show up was he thought about it and worried about it all day. And that afternoon, he drove his car out to a remote area, put the hose over his exhaust and killed himself. And I've wondered to this day what I might have done, what signals I might have seen to intervene more forcibly than I did as a friend. I just didn't have the background to do that. Years later, in one of my profit-making companies, we had a gentleman who was very, very distraught about a battle he was having with his manager. He felt his manager was overbearing. And he was back in Texas. I was out here assigned for the company. But I found out about his demise. He basically went into his boss's office, cut his wrists, and bled to death on his boss's desk. Again, that's a cry for help that somebody didn't answer in a timely manner. So to me, a part of this is being attuned to who's around us, being attuned that pain is real, and figuring out when we can intervene and do something. I'm looking for ideas.
Thank you, Dick. So I want to stop here and I want to talk about safety of the group and mental health safety. So there's 14 of us on the call now. And if any of you are feeling, like this is triggering or difficult, and you just kind of decide to check out, I would appreciate if you would just put in the chat that you're going to be leaving, so I know that everybody's okay. So difficult conversations are coming up, and Dick, you're describing, you went into pretty graphic detail about a suicide. And so that can be very difficult for people that have experienced mental health crises. So again, just if you are going to be jumping into another Zoom, or you decide to take a break, or you decide to leave, I would appreciate, we do this a lot in our field of suicide prevention work. It just is kind of letting somebody know that, you know, I'm going to leave, but I'm okay. So I don't want to treat this like a mental health group therapy session, but difficult conversations have already now come up. I was going to address it before, but sometimes you don't know what's going to come up. So again, sorry for your loss, Dick, for sure. And so just as you move through your story, or you move through your reason for being here, I just want to make sure people are doing okay, and that can be some very, very difficult information to hear. Why don't I move it over to Beverly?
Thank you, Kathleen. I'm Beverly Hikes with the Rotary Club of Hilo. I came today to this particular session because I am excited that mental health has become a priority. I grew up in a time when it was something you were ashamed of, embarrassed about, and you didn't talk about it, and you didn't seek help for it. And all of these things was just kind of buried down. And to see that it's surfacing and coming out, and we're feeling comfortable to talk about things, I think that's going to make a big difference with people who are struggling. And I think all of us struggle with at some point with some mental health issue. But some of us can work our way through, others seek help, whatever we need to do. The other reason I came too is because I have a son in college, junior year at college, and his first year leaving a small town, Hilo, going to Boston was very difficult. We talked just about every day. He struggled mentally coming from this small town and being put in this big ocean. You know, small fish in a small pond going to a big ocean as a small fish. And so it was a difficult year for him, and myself too, watching him struggle. But he's a junior now. He's overcome a lot. But it was something interesting to see a 4.0 valedictorian, you know, all of those successful things, having such a hard time in an environment. And so that's why I'm here, because I had to support him. And I know that it's real with young people, that they really struggle, and we need to pay attention. So thank you.
Thank you. Beverly, who would you like to pass it over to?
I'm going to pass it over to Jeremiah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Hi, I'm Jeremiah Leonard, and I'm also with Rotary Club of Hilo. So yeah, I joined this session just because I mean, everyone has their own experiences that brought them to, you know, where they are today. And, you know, we can all speak to our own experiences, myself included, and, you know, how it's affected us throughout our life, but we're not always attuned to other people's experiences. And so I know this is something that's that Rotary is, you know, trying to take a more active role in addressing in our community. So I just wanted to, you know, learn more about it and just be more attuned to, you know, health in general, really. So healthier mental state and healthier general health, I think will lead to a healthier community and healthier clubs. So, yeah.
Thank you, Jeremiah. And who would you like to pass it to?
Let me see who's on the call here.
Oh, yeah,
So
you're on your phone, that's harder.
how how about Mark, Miriam?
Yeah.
Sure, good morning. In case you didn't know, I'm married to a licensed clinical social worker. And so that is a part of a regular discussion at our house and how we can support the needs of the mental health community in Hawaii. Kathleen shared a little bit about her passion, but I can tell you that she's made a difference in so many lives across our state in a positive way. And just coming forward and talking about mental health and getting away from some of the stigma that's associated with it. Kathleen has done a phenomenal job with that as she shares her own personal story and the stories that we're hearing now. Is really just saying it's okay to talk about, it's okay to discuss, and it needs to be a lot more open. And I think Rotary can do a lot about that, whether it's having guest speakers at our meetings or doing a project at one of the local health clinics. Rotary can actually make an impact. And as we talk more about making sure everybody's mental health and personal health is stronger and better in our community. Kathleen will also tell you that I'm her best subject, that I am clinically diagnosable and that I should be in therapy. She will readily tell you that, but I'll turn that back over. And Jan, you've had your hand up. Let's pass it to Jan.
Hi, thank you, Mark, for your honesty. Yeah, I'm similar to others in this group. There's mental illness in our family. And also our church, last year, our pastor started a mental health spirituality group. It's kind of turned into a support group. And we also have a psychologist that goes to that church. So that's been really helpful to tune in. But she has told us that she's noticed a lot more mental health issues since the COVID, since people have been isolated more and having more anxiety. So thank you for this topic. Oh, and I will pick Caroline.
Thank you, Jen. I put it on the chat. At the PETS training, we heard the international presidents say that he was going to have mental health be one of the platforms of the year. Kathleen said there'll be a table at the district conference to talk about this platform. And so my question is, how do I carry it through in the club? Mark said kind of, maybe there'll be a list of speakers we can have addressed us over Zoom. Thanks to Liz, we have a hybrid meeting, so we could get somebody from the mainland if they don't mind watching other people drink. So that's what I need. You're not normal if you don't have some mental health issues. It's a fact of life. So moving forward, how do we help our club members deal with it? And the other one with her hand up was Annie.
Thank you so much, Caroline. Well, I'm here as that other group of mental health professionals, which is MFT, Marriage Family Therapist. I am in the process of applying for a grant to have our West Side Maui start off with a group called joinonelove.org. And if you can look it up, it was born out of a young gal who was off at university. And when she came home with this new boyfriend, people were worried and didn't know what to do. And unfortunately, he ended up killing her when she wanted to break up with him. So the family created a foundation, and they have created trainings, they have created video materials, and everything is there of no charge. It just takes people like us, both men and women, signing up and learning how to train and putting on presentations for young kids. We have interact clubs in 2 of the high schools on this side of the island. So when our incoming president had, stated that mandate, the mental health was important, I thought, well, this may be the time to start that initiative. And we are exploring getting it involved in the Interact clubs, if that can kind of be a launch. Either they do it once a month as one of their meetings, or it spins off into another club, or we have some other agency in the community pick it up. I'm very aware of the court system here, where a lot of people go and get restraining orders, and have other things happen that there's a lot of help for women who are experiencing difficulties. And my feeling is let's get in even lower at the preventative level, because we have a lot of young girls, and I just see a few of them here in my practice that have been in some horrendous controlling situations that are pretty scary, that I would like to feel that we can help better equip them for, so they are not traumatized and the rest of their life is affected by some young man's, bold intentions when he hasn't been properly mentored. And so getting some men involved to mentor young men. And I do a lot of work with Terry Real, who is a therapist out of Boston. And one of the things he sees a lot of, and we see a lot of, is men who have never been mentored in what does it take to be a boyfriend or a husband. And to me, this is just starting to scratch that lottery ticket of let's get this more done for this. So
Thank you, Annie.
that's my mandate.
Okay, thank you
Thank
very
you for
much.
letting me share. Yeah.
How about Cheryl? Would you like to, we haven't heard from you yet. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Oh, I wasn't muted. Sorry. I hope you didn't hear me talking to my cat,
Oh.
who visited us for a short while. He had to see what was going on. He's my emotional support cat. Speaking of mental health.
Yes.
So I was just delighted to hear that this is part of the platform when I was at Pets. And I just wanted to support you, Kathleen, because, my daughter here on Oahu is also a licensed clinical social worker, and she's working in renal care right now, but has done just a little bit of everything. And, it's just so important getting through COVID the way people have. I'm a 5th grade teacher, and I'm seeing the remnants of it. And I just think that going forward past this period of COVID, it's going to be so important for kids and adults to get back to or what a new normal is for us. So I'm glad that we could have this discussion, and I'm just here to support you, Kathleen. I think it's great.
Oh, thank you, Cheryl. Glad you're here. Would you like to pass it to somebody, or maybe you're not sure who has not gone?
Yeah, I came in a little late. Liz, did you go already?
No, she has not. Perfect.
Liz, are you there?
I am sorry. I had to unmute myself, and I'm even going to try to turn the camera back on.
All right, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. There we are. I'm here pretty much the same as Caroline and Cheryl are, because that's one of McAnally's platforms areas that he wants to focus on. And I'm here to find out what we as individual Rotarians or clubs or members of the district can do to help in that cause. So thank you. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Liz. Would you like to pop over to somebody?
Oh, let's see. Kathy Lum has her camera on and hasn't spoken, I think.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Liz. Yes, so just to be honest, I almost jumped out as soon as I got in because I'm here really to learn more about it. As everybody mentioned, Southwest Pets, that was the platform on an international level. And I believe, Kathleen, it was something that you had said on one of our pre-pets meetings about how are you really? I think it was you. And that's so true, right? Because I think I have a like, oh, how are you doing? And it's just like a formality that I do. And
Mhm.
ever since I heard you say that, I have paid more attention to really, really truly asking them how they're doing. And so that has kind of helped me. And I don't have a personal issue or circumstance that I've been close to. I have had friends and I hear of things. And so I guess my goal is to stay in this session. Obviously, I'm glad I did. And
Me
it's just
too.
more about learning more about it. And then just by listening to all of you, it's helping me. And I think there's a lot more that I need to do individually to learn. So I
Oh.
appreciate this session for sure. So thank you.
Oh, thank you for your honesty, Kathy. Wow. And I'm so glad you decided to stay in. Yes. There's more too. Thank you. So we have Nicole and Lee left.
Pass it to Nicole. Sorry about that. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nicole, the president of Rotaract E-Club Ohana. I'm here just to represent the Rotaractors in general, and then also on a personal level, I have in the past been checked in like mental health institutions and stuff, and I just wanted to come in. I don't have friends and family who have mental health challenges, and I wanted just to come to learn more.
Oh, thank you so much, Nicole. And yes, the Rotaract, age group is at high risk, and whatever protective factors we can all help with, we want to make that a priority. We're so glad you're here. Thank you, Nicole. And you are very busy. You've got a big event coming up, and yeah, thank you so much, Nicole. All right, last but not least, we've got Lee, who's, is that snow behind you?
Yeah, actually, that's my home mountain from Mount Shasta. Here, there you go. That's my home
Okay.
mountain, Mount Shasta. I grew up in Wairika by Oregon. So
All right.
yeah, so the reason I came in today is I wanted to hear what everybody else is saying, see if there's something new I can glean, and just be among people who are, you're not alone. We have a lot of challenges in my families as well with panic, anxiety, depression, OCD. And then one of my high school friends, I have to still tell myself to this day, and it's been several years now, that I just need to remember to listen to intuition, because she was going back to her house to collect her belongings. She'd been living with another one of our high school friends who they had had a relationship for a while, and then they decided it wasn't working, and it was just rooming together. And she had a wonderful life ahead of her. She had found somebody who was truly her fit and match, and they were engaged. And when she sent a message saying she was headed home to go gather her belongings, my gut said she shouldn't do it. But I didn't think much of it, because it's like, well, who am I to tell her? I'm not like her bestest best friends. We're just been good friends since, high school, checking in on each other. And I wish I had been able to really pay attention more, because when she went back, Eric was his name. He was so unstable that he did a murder-suicide. And it was extremely devastating. Yeah, it was bad. So I wasn't there to see it, but I was there in the sense that we're a very small town. Everybody knows everybody, no matter where we live. A lot of us are close, even if we're not physically close. And I still miss her to this day. She was one of those people that her heart was just gold. Ever since I'd met her in my freshman year of high school, she was just gold, and it was sad. It's like we all should have seen this coming, because my thought was, if you're going to go home, you need to take somebody with you. Don't go alone. And I didn't act on it. So now anytime I have any inspirations or thoughts, I try and speak up and let them know my concerns. But otherwise, everybody who I've been hearing, you're not alone. I think just about all of us have experienced something with mental health, whether it's ourselves, our family, friends. I mean, you're never not affected, especially in Rotary, where we try to be so connected with our community and do for others. It has a huge impact all the way around. So
Thank you, Lee. Thank you. And thank you for sharing that personal story. Yeah, that's, I think many of us that have experienced something traumatic like that, you know, once we get to the point where in our recovery of that, whether it's guilt or shame or whatever we go through, then when we do get a bit stronger, we do want to help other people so they don't go through something like that. But all the would haves, could haves, should haves, you know, that you work through, that is part of the healing. And fortunately, you know, many of us find strength in helping other people, right? That is part of the healing. So I'm just so glad that everybody chose this time together. I really appreciate your time and, you know, your heart being here. So back to then, you know, this is kind of what brought us together. What can we do individually and what can we do at our club level, our state level, and internationally? So, you know, I think many of us were impacted that internationally Rotary is going to take mental health on. I mean, that is just so huge. I think many of us, and there's a lot of Rotary experience right here in this Zoom room. And so we've often been inspired by Rotary International leaders. I mean, all the themes. I mean, have you ever seen a bad theme? No. But for some reason, this theme, creating hope in the world, kind of strikes some of us as just that's my theme. That's what I do. That's what I believe in. That's mine. And so if you have not seen, I don't want to play it today because we don't have much time, but there's a 4-minute part of Gordon's theme speech that I would definitely show at your clubs if you haven't already, or maybe you want to wait until the new year. But it is so perfect to be able to then say that, you know, this is what we want to do. We want to focus more on mental health. The Rotary International Mental Health Action Group. So, you know, these action groups and fellowships, a lot of them are about, you know, fellowship and getting together, but this is a real action group on mental health. And we use that. They sent us the clip. So if you need it, I can show you which 4 minutes they use. And this is where now I'm showing it at Rotary clubs when I speak, because it's just the perfect 4 minutes that kind of says, you know, it's not too much, it's not too little. It just shows you kind of what why he's chosen this theme. And what I like about it is Jennifer Jones, who's our current Rotary International Director, you know, she's been about comforting our members. And we've gone through so much with COVID, and I know you've seen a lot of your own club members go through a lot, and maybe you have too, that then the next step is really taking care of them. And so we have a lot of people that are out there still struggling. COVID is not over, and people have changed their patterns. They've changed their behaviors. People are not as comfortable as they used to. And so it really has had its impact to where we need to communicate differently about, like Kathy was saying, it does really work to ask people, how are you really? I'm gonna, at the district conference, make buttons that say, how are you really? And promote this idea of, you know, that we don't wanna just do this, hey, how are you? Oh, fine, fine, how are you? That's a greeting. That's just kind of a social norm that we've been raised with. But at this time, we want to really let people know, oh, no, I'm not just greeting you. How are you really? So your club could make little stickers too, and spend maybe one of the meetings to talk about, you know what, we want to take 10 minutes at the beginning of our meeting to talk about one of our mental health initiatives, which is to spend more time letting you know that we really care about how you are, because we know it's been a difficult time. And so for May, just as an example, May Mental Health Month, the first meeting of the month, we're going to pass these out. And when you're sitting there having a little fellowship with your cup of coffee or whatever, you know, ask somebody really how they're doing. Now, I think sometimes people just get worried. They're a little bit worried about what the answer might be. What if somebody says, well, you know what, I'm not doing well at all? Do you have the time at that moment to really take their whole story in? Do you have the skill set that, might require some very good active listening skills? What if they actually say, well, I've been thinking about, turning it all in. I don't know that I want to live anymore. Are you prepared? Would you know what to do? And maybe you want to take a club meeting to talk about that. What about our members that are so depressed and have so much anxiety, which by the way is not, unusual. Everybody has more anxiety and depression right now. So why not take a meeting to talk about that? So I got off on that tangent. So the whole thing with how are you really is a whole concept I would say for back to what can our club do. The other thing that I wanted to mention for our district is that at the district conference, there's a big initiative called Don't Bottle It Up. And if you go to Rotary.org and you look up the Rotary International Mental Health Action Group, you can see this campaign called Don't Bottle It Up. And we will be launching that so that we're going to have a table where people can take their pictures by on the computer, where you will actually have like this kind of, and it'll have a, and you say, don't bottle it up, and you're smiling, and it'll have information about your club. So you could have actually a social media campaign going on about this idea that, we don't need to bottle up our feelings. If you go to the website now, there's, Gordon McAnally launched it in the UK. It's actually a UK project, but we're going to bring it to Hawaii. So that's a social media campaign. Other social media campaigns could be things like, Rotary cares about mental health, or mental health matters is a hashtag I use on everything. So I wanted to mention, again, May Mental Health Month. In your newsletter, it would be really nice if you mentioned something about mental health. I want to tell you about two organizations that I use for a lot of my data. Of course, I have Department of Health data, but that's very governmental, and it, doesn't, well, that's another story. But anyways, NAMI, National Alliance on Mental Illness. Can I just see a raise of hands if you have used that before, you know them? Okay. So this is an organization that's targeted at families, but it's also for people themselves, ourselves, that might have a condition. But it's one of my favorite groups. They have things like fact sheets, and they have this, which is Mental Health in Hawaii. I just printed it out earlier, and it has some nice readable data. By the way, 1 in 5, some people would say that's inaccurate. It should be 1 in 4. 1 in 5 US adults experience mental illness each year. 1 in 5. So, I would throw that fact out at a Rotary meeting. Now, of course, you don't just go to the podium and just say, by the way, 1 in 5, and then people start going, wait, what? But, why not have a mental health moment once in a while, or talk about when people want to do that, and say, today's our day. We just thought we would give some more attention to mental health. 1 in 6 US youth age 6 to 17 experience a mental health disorder each year. That's 10,000 youth in Hawaii. Every 2 days, by the way, somebody dies by suicide. Now, several of you mentioned suicide, and, that's something that many of us feel the scars of. I have been chairing the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention for Hawaii, and that is a very good organization. Many of you actually helped having a Rotary team, because they have a walk. They have about 3 events a year. And, just again, having that awareness of seeing people walk, seeing people gather, the social media campaigns, that is very helpful. So NAMI.org. The other organization, if you're kind of looking for resources, trainings, like trainings on mental health first aid or trainings on suicide prevention, real quick, easy ones like an hour here and there, because we're not asking all Rotarians to suddenly become mental health professionals, for goodness sakes. We're asking that we become more aware, more comfortable as well. And so Mental Health America of Hawaii is another really easy to use website that offers lots of tips and little trainings. So I would encourage you to share that. So the last speaker mentioned something that I've gotten more involved in recently, which is mindfulness. How many people know about mindfulness? Can I just see a show of hands? Not a lot, but if you were to Google mindfulness, there we go. Okay, I'm getting more. Okay, good. There's some neat stuff about mindfulness. I didn't really know what it was because I kind of got it mixed up with meditation, and I'm of course there's some overlap, but again, it has to do with self-care. So it'd be really good for us to promote our Rotarians to take better care of ourselves, right? Because we want to be more resilient. We want to be stronger. And we're so busy worrying about saving the world and saving our communities, we probably forget to take care of ourselves. And so most of us were raised, to be selfish is bad, and to think of ourselves is not good. But actually, to figure out how to take care of ourselves and heal ourselves, and to it's not even pampering. I thought that maybe it meant that you go and you get a pedicure for if I'm a woman, or you go and you maybe treat yourself. It's actually, that's shallow. It really is about how do I schedule my time? How do I be a better timekeeper? And if somebody's really negative, like keep them out. Like, how do I have some boundaries? Self-care, right? Self-care. So we could do more with that in our clubs, helping our members take care of themselves and us taking care of our members. So I think that's part of our mental health initiative too. And now this sounds really corny, but my first club I joined, and where I met my husband, that story, I think, they had something called the Sunshine Club. I thought, what's that? Do you know that when I lost my brother to suicide, they sent me a card? I still have that card. Bless their hearts. They weren't afraid to go ahead and acknowledge. I mean, I had a death. There was a death. I knew it. I thought the world should stop, but it didn't. But that card meant so much. And this little club, it was a group of about 4. It was all gals. I don't know where the men were, but they were gals that just paid attention to birthdays and deaths and surgeries, big life events. And, if I could, I would say that should be at every club, and maybe it is. Maybe you all have that, but what a sweet idea. And maybe it's called something different, but you get the idea, right? It's kind of tracking, it's identifying and tracking special life events that really are kind of mental health events too, right? Somebody else said it earlier about it's physical too. It's our physical health. It's our mind, body, and spirit. So, okay, I have talked at you a lot, which is why I didn't do a PowerPoint, because I didn't want to do that. So I want to pause now and just get some reactions.
Kathleen, what was the name of that organization that sent you the card?
Mental Health America, Hawaii. It's the Hawaii chapter. So they're a national group, just like NAMI, national group with local affiliates.
I put another one in the chat.
Oh,
and
thank you.
that, and NICABM that has
Okay.
short courses about things. I just saw one recently, $49, and it was about, when you don't feel good enough, and had a
Okay,
lot of
thank
really
you.
good, a lot of people go through that kind of thing.
Thank you. Oh, and also AFSP.org, that's American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Some of the nicest people I've met have been survivors of a suicide loss. And it sounds so depressing. I mean, I've actually gone to conferences of that group, and when I tell, I was gonna say normal people, when I tell other people, oh, I'm going to a conference on suicide, my family's just like, oh my God, that sounds so terrible. But do you know, it's the most uplifting, inspiring thing. It's kind of weird, huh? Oh, Lee raised hand.
Okay, I was gonna say, for some people who have Kaiser, there's a program I'm involved in. It's for people who have pain, severe pain, the Malama Ola program,
Yes.
something like that. Through there, I'm involved with one of the mindfulness classes. So I take the
Oh.
mindfulness class, they have stretching classes, and they teach all kinds of things to help you be in the moment. We use the Calm app and everything else. So if you
Oh,
have
yes.
Kaiser and you struggle with chronic pain, you can get into this class. Otherwise, I would also ask about it to see if you can do it otherwise in addition. It doesn't take very long, and it's usually once a month, but it
Great.
gives a lot of really good information. So that's
Yeah.
something people can also utilize if they're a Kaiser member. So
Thank you. Great.
yeah,
tip.
you're welcome.
Yeah, there are some neat mindfulness apps. Jeremiah. Hi. Oh, Jeremiah, sorry, you're on mute.
Okay, yeah, I'm a small business owner, so I've been kind of trying to learn better ways to be a leader in my company, but also in with Rotary stepping up in for president for our club next year. And I came across this article from Harvard Business Review, and it kind of relates to mental health, I think, in terms of leadership, which I think also relates to the theme for next year, creating hope in the world. And so it was called "You Don't Need to Be the Boss to Be a Leader," and it talks about several things, but one of the things it talked about was improving your ability to connect with people, and so you talked about how are you really doing, and versus just kind of being on the surface. And some of those things it talked about was vulnerability, and I think authenticity. Sometimes I guess we have a hard time opening up, to being ourselves, and versus trying to present this image to people, and so I'll just read a little bit about vulnerability, and it also talked about empathy, but vulnerability, displaying vulnerability helps dismantle barriers that help naturally construct that people naturally construct when communicating with someone new or in a professional setting. Once you break down those barriers, it's easier for them to receive your message. And it talks about how do you be vulnerable. Each of us has a unique set of experiences, challenges, and failures we've gone through, and opening up and being honest about what's going on with you when the appropriate opportunity arises will help others relate to you. So just wanted to share that anyway.
Nice, thank you.
And I can forward the article if anyone's interested in reading the whole thing, but yeah.
Great. Well, clearly I'm going to have to, and I welcome ideas, I'm going to need to have a local mental health Rotary Action Group section to our website. I am looking at, I'll have to consult with Conrad because he's a guru of that. But now that we are an official action group, then we'll want a section on there where maybe we could have resources like that. You know, so somebody could come to, you can always go to the RI website and find lots of resources there, but I really want to have some localized resources like the ones we're throwing out right now. You know, it would be nice to be able to go there and find them. And then maybe also some presentation tips, you know, if you're looking at focusing on mental health at one of your meetings or a part of your meeting or giving a mental health moment, you know, that if you've got some ideas that went over really well. And also maybe there's some ideas that don't go over so well, although I wouldn't get discouraged by that. Remember, this is kind of a new thing. It's a new time. It's a new, and so sometimes people are uneasy. I mean, we spent the first part of our meeting talking about, you know, we're here because there's a lot of stigma and we want to go ahead and talk about it. So I wouldn't be surprised if the first few times you kind of mention it, or, you know, I thought we'd talk about mental health and you get some plain, you know, flat, we call it flat affect in the field, right? You get some plain faces. That's okay. We want to plunge forward. We know we're doing the right thing. This is very important to address. It's life or death in some cases. So I think that would be the next step, is to start gathering some resources, having our little section on the website. Because again, I want to make sure that we have some organization around what we can do as an individual, what we can do at the club level, statewide, district, and then Rotary International. So I think that's the way to kind of organize it. Any other thoughts? I see some new people coming in probably for the next section, although we're happy to have you because I know you all would care about mental health too, according to the people I'm seeing.
Kathleen.
Yes.
So I have a question regarding the Rotary Action Group. You know, now
Yes.
that you're official, are you gonna start sending out information like if people want to join and that kind of
Yes.
stuff? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, that's what I got to do next. I have an initial member group just that chartered, like founding charter members. And so I got to blast that out, and then we need to have some way of forming, you know, membership and yes. Yes, it just got chartered yesterday. So April 7th. Yes. So I'll have to do a class on that
Congratulations.
too. Thank you. Thank you. It's been kind of a dream. And oh, so there's 169 active chartered mental health action groups. There's 20 that are pending, and then there's some that are expired. But yeah, there's 169 in the world. So yeah, they kind of put you through the ringer a bit, you know, but that's okay. They want to make sure you're serious. Yeah, so thank you for all your support.
Kathleen, can I just say something? So through this, as I move forward into my president year coming up, I really would, I think I'm going to start it for myself, because we always have like a you know, like every more like during the meetings, so and so has a happy story, or they like I forgot what we call it, but inspirational, you know, saying or something. But I think I really want to implement something like you just said, like that mental health moment. And I think that's going to be great for our club. Like, you know, just bringing something new, but something also that's needs to be brought to light. I think I really am going to do that. So thank you everyone for sharing today. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Kathy. I really appreciate how you came in and just said, I was ready to leave this. But you know what? I really learned a lot. So I'm so grateful. So as we wind down, I just want to see if anybody else has some closing comments. My closing comments to you are just a huge mahalo. You know, people came here really open and honest and kind of raw. And I really thank you. I think that I'm going to lean to you for the future of taking this on in Rotary. And you all are leaders. You all can be leaders in this. And of course, we need to be. We're needed to be leaders in this. So thank you so much. If anybody else has any comments, I think we're going to be winding down, and I'll turn it over to Mark. Unless you want to write in the chat, you can certainly write in the chat, but we've got a couple more minutes if you want to shout out anything.
All right, so we're going to do transition again. So thank you, Kathleen, from the corner office suite of our house. We're excited about this initiative for the coming year. We're going to transition. If you want to jump over to one of the other sessions, you're welcome to do that. Just go back to the district website and click on the session you're interested in. And this group will continue on with visioning and the strategic plan that's associated with helping our clubs grow from where we are now, which is amazing, to where we want to be, which is phenomenal. And leading that session will be Wendy Hornak. And so I'm going to stop this recording.